What's up, fantasy champions? Spotlight Sports Network is excited to tell you about an amazing deal from Thrive Fantasy, your place for daily fantasy sports and esports. Right now with promo code SS Network, Thrive Fantasy will match up to $50 of your first deposit. So go to thrivefantasy.com and sign up now with promo code SS Network. That's thrivefantasy.com, promo code SS Network.
Once a Raider, bruh, always a Raider, bruh. Shit simple as that. You look silver and black. Lot of bread invested in that old line. Car insurance cost the arm and the...
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? What is up? Just let y'all know that Jake will be running late. He is running late. That's why we pushed it back. He is running late at this moment. But we are going to talk some Raider Talk stuff. I am your host, Darian, of the Spotlight Raiders Talk, and your host of the Spotlight Sports Network as well. For some reason, my green screen is just not working for me. So I'm going to be sitting here hosting it until Jake gets in here. We will not have no Raider J tonight, and we won't not have Hammer tonight at all either. So it's been, I had to get my intros out. But I'm kind of happy to actually be doing this with y'all today. My name is Darian. If you didn't know, make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, y'all. Everything that we do on here, we try to make sure that we have it to our best of our ability. Now, we all know that tomorrow is the big game. Tomorrow is the big game, ladies and gentlemen. And the big game is the Raiders versus the Chargers. Now, it must not mean much to the Chargers, but the Chargers is going to try to be spoilers in this game on Thursday night. And the reason why I say that is because we got to win out. If the Raiders want to try to have some type of playoff implications, we have to win out. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I finally moved on from the actual game against the Indianapolis Colts. We fired Paul Guntner, and that's just what it is. That's just where we're at with it. And Paul Guntner has moved on, and I will be dropping a video of the top five potential DCs or defensive coordinators for next year, or for next year going into our future, because that move was for our future only. Jake is not in right now. Jake is on his way in. He's running late at the moment. He told me to start the show without him, so that's why I'm waiting for him to get in here. So once he gets in and stuff like that, and then we could go from that nature. So we're just waiting for Jake to come on in to start our preview show. But as far as we go, though, like the Raiders, I'm just going to speak on my team at this moment. And just, think about, things about what's going on with this game. Mind you, this game is a very important game for the Raiders and an important game for the Chargers. I know the Chargers did end up beating the Atlanta Falcons last week, and we couldn't beat them. We couldn't do nothing in that sorts to try to beat the Falcons. The Falcons beat the bricks off of us, and then, we end up losing the way we lost to in the Indianapolis Colts game. They are coming off of a win. We're coming off of a loss, and we definitely need to. Did Jake become African American and a Raiders fan? No. It's just that we're on StreamYard and we're all streaming on the same platform. This background is going to change once he gets on here. Once he gets on here, then that will actually change. It'll be a Raiders versus Chargers background once he comes in. But what's going on, Anthony? Mimoopolis, Vincent, Quadril, just be you. BL, what's going on? Red Sports Mellow 213. Dominique 5, John L. Jackson, Trayvon Dixon, what's going on? Thanks for everybody for tuning in to the show, because this is going to be a good show between me and Jake. We're waiting for Jake to come on in here so we can have ourselves a good matchup. And a lot of things have been going down, and I really want to wait on him. I really was trying to push it back to 7:30 for some reason, and it's just Jake was like, just started without him, and I'm going to do his intro and all of that once he gets in the queue. That's the thing. Once he gets in the queue, then that's where we're going to actually, talk about the game. But I can take some questions right now from everybody. It doesn't matter if it's Chargers fans, don't matter if it's Raiders fans, it doesn't matter. I'm willing to take questions until Jake come in the queue. Actually, we have Jake in the queue as we speak. So let me just throw on his intro for the Chargers, because Jake is here at this moment. So just check this out. I know it's on the Raiders channel too, but I got to introduce him. So here we go.
Do you like the Oakland A's? Are you a fan of the Golden Knights? Do you love the Los Angeles Chargers? Well then, my friend, you're in the right place. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show with your host, Jake the Snake Silva, brought to you by the Spotlight Sports Network.
And there you have it, guys. There you have it. I try to get a better background to see our logos, but it just didn't work out that way. But
Damn.
my guy here, Jake the Snake Silva of the Snake Sports Talk Show, home of the Spotlight Sports Network, and your number one Chargers YouTuber. What is going on, brother? What is going on?
Going great, man. Listen, I don't know what the hell you got this hater thing over my head for, but, I'll let that slide at least for tomorrow's game. But Bolt Gang, Bolt fam, what's going on? Glad all of you guys can come here on this this special live stream edition of Chargers and Raiders pre-game, man. Listen, I'm literally 20 minutes away from where Allegiant Stadium is at, man, and I'm excited to at least see the boys finally make it here into Vegas. I mean, who doesn't want to play in Vegas, man? That's why I'm just like, I'm super excited for this. But things are going good, man. Things are going good. I'm excited for this game. And round 2, bro, let's go.
Round 2, man. I'm gonna try to upgrade this background a little bit. It's a bit plain, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try to upgrade this thing, man. So how you feeling going into this game now, knowing that y'all did beat the Falcons, and I know that y'all we couldn't beat them, and then we're coming off of a loss for the Indianapolis Colts game. We fired Paul Guntner. So how confident are you in this game? How confident are you?
So as of right now, I mean, yeah, you like most people say, a win's a win, and looking into last week's game against the Atlanta Falcons, I mean, there were a bunch of takeaways that we had in the game. I mean, first and foremost, I mean, the one that there's still messes that needs to be cleaned up with this organization. I mean, we already know about the head coaching. We already know about the defensive coordinating and the special teams. But once again, last week, we saw all of just the mess in special teams. Nobody could communicate. Nobody even knew what to do at all at the end of the first half, and it was ridiculous. We could have settled for a touchdown or we could have settled for a field goal. It was – God, it drove me nuts. Now that's a lot better. I like that now.
That's why I changed it. I like this better. I like this better. I know the game ain't on Sunday, but I feel how it is,
But yeah, I really am feeling confident about this game, knowing that they're finally in a win column at the very least. So that hopefully can boost the morale of this team. And it's like you said, this is an important game because the fact of Raiders are trying to push for playoff hopes, and I'm hoping we just become little spoilers, and end that for their year. But I'm very confident in it, and I will tell you this: The secondaries I thought played very, very well. There were 3 different secondaries, each with an interception that really spoiled the fun for Matt Ryan. But I'm pretty confident up in this game. Now, I'll read off also as we get deeper and deeper into some takeaways, what we learned from the last matchup that we had, and what now needs to, what other expectations we may have for this up and coming game. So I'm pretty confident in this, man. I'm pretty confident.
I mean, I'm knowing that a lot just came down in the news for the Raiders. So, I mean, a lot of things that came down. So I can see why you could be confident as far as injuries go. We already said it's already been stated that Jonathan Abram would not be playing. Nicholas Morrow would not be playing. We had Damon Arnett is not playing. Jeff Heath is not playing. So Henry Ruggs is on the COVID-19 list. So it's just the next man up for us when it comes to the Raiders. It's the next man up. And I feel like we got to see more Isaiah Johnson. From what I'm hearing, Daryl Worley will be dressing up. He will be suiting up this weekend against the Chargers. So that definitely helps us out as well. The replacement for Morrow, it might be Littleton, Kowalski, and McMillan at the linebacking core. And I'm confident in this game as well, just because I feel like the Chargers defense really can't stop our offense either. And I just feel like it goes hand in hand. I feel like our defense is not as great, even though Paul Guttner is gone. You have a Rob Molinari coming in, trying to get this defense ready in 4 days. So that's going to be tough for Rob Molinari. But mind you, he's been a defensive coordinator before, and he's been in a situation like this before where he had to become a defensive coordinator at the rest of the year. So it's time. I'm confident, but I'm not confident. I'm nervous, but I'm not nervous. It's just defensively, we're just been depleted all year defensively. Yeah. Offensively, you have to think about Henry Ruggs. Now, Henry Ruggs he's not going to play this week. So who's going to be the next man that's going to actually stand up? So I feel like, oh my God, like I'm getting all these stuff in my phone. Like I just have to put it on Do Not Disturb. It's weird. But Worley, I know Daryl Worley is suiting up tomorrow, and hopefully that could help us out in some sort. I mean, I don't know why we brought him back and then bring a Demarius Randall or anything of that nature back, but it's still the Chargers. They still the chokers. And listen, it is what it is. I'm going to talk my smack until the day I die as a Raider. Just because we didn't beat the Falcons, and y'all beat them, but y'all barely beat them, and we had this conversation. So don't switch it up on me now, because I can pull the receipts. You said, oh, we barely beat them. At least y'all beat them. We couldn't beat them. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you only managed to put 6 points.
You only managed to put up 6 points against those dead birds, man. I mean, I was trying to give you at least as much confidence as I possibly could, but it didn't look like it from the looks of it up on the game, and so that kind of summed up your story upon it. But yeah, I mean, the Raiders defense, it really has shaped up very, very differently for them. And listen, they had some high expectations for guys like Corey Littleton, Nick Kwiatkowski, and a bunch of others in the linebacking core. But yeah, I mean, the most important guys, Jonathan Abram, Damon Arnett, the 2 secondary guys who are mostly shut down. Now, Abram, of course, is a big, heavy hitter. We know that from the last meet, that he's a guy that when he sees somebody with the football in his hands, he's going to be very impactful, heavy hitter. That's just the tempo of his game. But Damon Arnett's going to be a hard one, because the fact of seeing him as a shutdown corner, that now is going to cause a lot of problems when they don't have their shutdown corner there in the secondary, especially against guys like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Jalen Guyton, and an entire wide receiving barrage in their offense. And so, but of course, too, I mean, think of it this way: you don't even have your pass rusher, Cleveland Farrell, that's going to be out there. And that's another one that definitely stings. But that also means Max Crosby is going to have a lot more work to deal with. So he's going to, he's got to be the next man to step up. The rest of the defensive front line for the Raiders has to step up. But that's just where it's a huge it's a huge challenge. And it's like you said, next man up. The guys that come up
which
in
is
here.
going to be Vic Beasley, because Vic Beasley is a really good pass rusher too.
Yeah.
Once he gets his feet wet, I think our pass rush will be fine. I agree though. I definitely agree with you saying though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? I mean, Vic Beasley, I mean, he's been in the league before, and he's been in situations where, you could utilize him as a Mike linebacker and a guy that can also come in certain situations on the defense. So, but you're absolutely right. It's now going to be a new, fresh look for the Raiders on their defense with the fact that Rod Marinelli's coming in after way to go on making the decision on firing Paul Gunther, because that seriously needed to happen. And I'm just waiting for the day that Anthony Lynn packs his bags, parts ways, and listen, I like the guy, but he's not strong enough as a head coach to be manning all of the duties to making sure that, the Chargers are on a winning record. But so the Chargers too, I mean, yeah, Raiders got their hits of injuries. We do as well. Nazir Adderley, there's at least 2 doubtfuls. There's 2 outs, and then there's also 4 players that are going to be questionable. So Nazir Adderley and Denzel Perryman are both doubtful in the game. I know Nazir Adderley kind of was shook up last week in the game against Atlanta, and Denzel Perryman, same thing. We're hoping we'll get some positive news from them. So we'll see exactly what their game time status will be from there. But the 2 that are for sure out is Brian Bulaga and Emeke Egbuli. And what hurts about Brian Bulaga, they kept him on concussion protocols, so he'll be out for Thursday night's game. But what hurts about it is the fact that the tackle position, a guy that has challenged a lot of these different pass rushers, it's going to be hard now for a guy to really kind of manhandle it. And think about it, how the Raiders utilize their edge rushers in the game is going to be the difference maker. And so that means Storm Norton is going to be the guy that has to step up, take the spot, and ensure clean protection for Justin Herbert to give him time to throw. And the questionable ones, I think they'll probably be ready to go in the game is Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Chinonwosu, and Mike Williams. So they're questionable as of right now. They did have at least a limited practice, but hopefully by tomorrow we'll have positive news and the guys will be ready to go, ready to ball out on this round 2 matchup against the Raiders. But this is where it's going to be very challenging on both ends. The fact that Chargers have to focus on protecting Herbert, give him time to throw, and the Raiders, they got to work on containing the pack, knowing that, you've got important secondary guys that are out that they need to shut down, especially one of the most underrated wide receivers in Keenan Allen.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It just vice versa. As far as our injury report is just as long as the Chargers injury report. Is that injury report? Both of ours is just as long. Jonathan Abram is considered out. Nelson Aguilar, he will play. We had Cleveland Farrell out. We have Damon Arnett out. We have Nicholas Morrow out. And Neville Lawson is questionable. He did have an illness, but it wasn't COVID-19 related. So, but everybody else was like limited or full. But everybody else is, besides those 4 players, they will be out. And then, Neville Lawson is questionable. So definitely we need Neville Lawson in there. When does it start? The game starts at at 8:15 tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So make sure y'all live on both of our channels. Make sure y'all come in both of our channels, because he'll be doing it on his channel and I'll be doing it on this channel as well. On the Spotlight Raiders Talk. Now, I really want to get into the last matchup. Knowing that we were still depleted, we didn't have a Damon Arnett there, and mind you, we had an Isaiah Johnson that ended up, defensively winning that game for us in that last game. Mind you, that game was back and forth. That game had it was in dramatic fashion. Do you feel like Willett is going to be the same way, knowing that the way our injury report is that a lot of people are depleted on both teams? So I feel like it's going to end in a dramatic fashion. I just don't know how yet.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, the last matchup, it ended all the way until it was the final play of the fourth quarter where the Chargers needed an important touchdown, and the guy that ended up stopping it, just so I believe it was Jonathan Abram who ended up stopping the play. I believe
Isaiah Johnson.
Isaiah Johnson. Yeah. Isaiah Johnson just so happened to have stopped that last play. And, those were just those points that every inch always counts, but I think in this game, the Chargers need to be better buttoned up for this next matchup, because knowing last time and the takeaways from there, I mean, you're talking about it from here. The Chargers have the number 7th best offense in the league, and they have the number 9th best defense in the league as well. And for that, for that to kind of solidify, they just need to straighten themselves up, and they need to be better prepared, because knowing that last week, yes, even though they came off of a win at 20-17, it still should have been a better outcome. And we know that the special teams needs to be adjusted well. They need to be buttoned up. And not to mention, I mean, the offense themselves kind of was slow last week. And that's where everybody now has to really just come up guns blazing, and they've got to be ready for all systems go at this point, because I want to see this offense, because you think about it, both quarterbacks in that last matchup didn't even throw a pick. They didn't even throw a pick.
Not one pick.
Not one pick. I mean, here was the difference. I mean, Derek Carr was 13 of 23 with 165 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no pick. And on the other side, Justin Herbert did more of the throwing. He had 28 of 42, 326 yards, and 2 touchdowns, no picks. And I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about Derek Carr, whether or not he's going to be very impactful for the Raiders and this and that. But if you think about it, he was really executing his job the last matchup. He was executing his job, making the plays that needed to be made, and gave the momentum for the Raiders to win. Like I said, outside of Tom Brady, there's not anybody else that I can think of who has better fourth quarter clutch moments than Derek Carr has. And so for me, what the team's got to get better on, they need to get a little better on the rushing. But now having Austin Eckler, because last time they didn't have him. They didn't have him in that last matchup. So Austin Eckler will be back, and this is one that, they're going to utilize a lot more of the screen plays. Eckler's going to have a little bit more juice on the run. And by the way, he actually ran really, really well against Atlanta's front 7. So that is one that is a big time note for the Raiders to be prepared for, because
we have struggled. We struggled against the run in the last 3 games. We struggled against the run, and it was like we couldn't stop the run against Indianapolis. They ran all over us. I think that the Indianapolis Colts have the top 1-2 punch in football right now with Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor. I just feel like we just can't stop the run to save our life when it comes to players being out of position, over pursuing, can't tackle, can't cover. It was all 3 phases of the defense, and our offense did what it could to put points up. And then, yes, I understand Derek Carr had the 1 interception in the end zone. Yes, and Jalen Bashar was supposed to catch that at the end of the fourth quarter, but our defense couldn't stop the run, and we couldn't stop the run. We gave up 200 rushing yards against a Jets running backs that we don't even know who the heck they are.
Yeah.
It's just real. It's just realistically. So, I mean, I'm not going to blame just all the defense, but John Gruden has to be better play calling.
Mm-hmm.
He gets into the second half of the game and he goes conservative, like we're actually okay where we're at. Like, no, you have to make adjustments on the fly, and that's what this coaching staff don't do for the Las Vegas Raiders. But do I still have faith? Yes, because I seen potential when John Gruden is aggressive with his play calling, especially when he played against the Chargers and when he played against the Chiefs and the other few games, like with this New Orleans Saints as well. So we can be aggressive. It's just that it's not on a consistent basis. I love my Raiders team to the best. I love my Raiders team to the best, but we got to get more creative. And yes, Ricky said it. Yes, we could not score in the red zone. So that's where we have to get innovative as an offense to confuse defenses and just don't do no generic offense. It is what it is. We can't get off the field on 3rd and long on defense. We put points on the board, but at the same time, John Gruden has to do better with this offense if we wants to win this game this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's kind of funny because I could literally say the same exact thing for Anthony Lynn. We already know that at this point, he's already going to be ready to leave, because listen, after the 1 week against the New England Patriots, and after saying that in the pregame press conference that there's no shot at making the playoffs, you were already defeated before you truly were defeated in the game, and that's the most, that's kind of the biggest takeaway for a coach himself. Like, as a coach, you don't say that at all, because the fact that, yes, you're struggling, but at the same time, it's like we said, adjustments need to be made. Adjustments need to be made for the better. And if you're not making the adjustments needed, that's where you really are going to lose the game as a whole. And that's where Anthony Lynn not only just lost the game, but he lost the tempo of the locker room. He lost the whole locker room, because the fact that you say that on public television, the team's going to give up on you because you already gave up on them. And that's one thing as a coach, in a coach's perspective, you just don't do. You find ways to get, to steer the boat out of chaotic waters. You don't just leave it to where the waters are that bad, the ship's going to eventually flip over, and then, you crash land and nobody survives. You just don't do that. You find ways to get yourself out of chaotic waters. And so much like how John Gruden has to be, as you mentioned, aggressive at plays, Anthony Lynn has to understand what he's doing. He needs to be able to utilize the time he has, and of course the 3 timeouts that you start with in the first and the second half, and stop playing conservative ball. Right. I've been seeing majority of the time where Justin Herbert, especially with him throwing 40 plus in the last matchup, there were a couple of takeaway plays in that week where Keenan Allen caught one of the deep ball throws, and it was okay coverage by the Raiders, but for a fact that can't happen again with the fact that another big time play happens. Mike Williams, of course, being open on the sideline. There were takeaways where the Chargers were playing aggressive on their offense. But the thing that after getting a first down and then you decide to run for 1 to 3 yards, you're playing more conservative. You're going backwards rather than go forward. The whole point of it is to keep the defense on their heels. So as you would say about John Gruden, I seriously would say the same exact thing for Anthony Lynn, and hoping that Gus Bradley will be smart enough to be aggressive on the defense, start to work a little bit more up on blitz, make that pocket uncomfortable for Derek Carr. You got to make it uncomfortable for him in that pocket as much as possible in order to force him to throw mistakes. We've seen that a couple of times with the last couple of weeks that the Raiders have played. When he gets uncomfortable, he's completely out of sync. He's out of rhythm. And that's where, that's where they have to focus it on the most.
But the one thing I can say is that with the Raiders, though, is that we got Trent Brown back. Trent Brown did have a great game last week. And the only person that we really missing on our offensive line is Richie Incognito now. Yeah. So even that Denzel Good is doing good in that actual position, but I don't see the Chargers getting the Derek Carr. I just don't see it, just because I feel like we have one of the best offensive lines in football, and we have to establish the run. The only way that we can make sure we take the pressure off of Carr is we establish a run game. And we have not in the last couple of weeks. We have not had no run game at all. And we've been winning the time possession even without a run game. But we need to get Josh Jacobs back on track this week with a Devontae Booker. Devontae Booker got to get the ball a little bit more. I don't even want Jalen Richard in there. Bring Theo Riddick up there and let him be a bruiser too, because Jalen Richard dropped the pass for a pick 6, and I did not like that at all. And, we're 6-0 when Josh Jacobs is over 100 yards this year. Thank you, Jason Marshall, for that take right there. So if he runs for over 100 yards, then y'all might be in for a long game. And think about it is, if we establish the run, and then we run to the play action, that is going to be a big, big problem. I mean, knowing that I know Chris Harris is probably coming back, but
he's already back. He's healthy. Oh yeah. That secondary now is going to be superior shutdown when it comes to all of the weapons that the Raiders have.
But you got to think about it, though. If you got to think about your defense, though, if your front seven cannot get to the quarterback, those corners can't hold up when it comes to those receivers. And mind you, Derek Carr can be mobile.
Yeah,
he can be. So
yes,
once he had that opportunity to run, that's another way to try to stop our offense. Like one thing I keep saying, our offense is very optimistic. You just don't know what type of identity you're going to get every single week with the Raiders, and that's what you get. Or you get dominantly run in some games. You get dominantly passed in some games. But Derek Carr been throwing for over 300 yards in the last 2 games, and he's been. I mean, yes, he's been having a multiple of picks, but the numbers don't lie when you go 31 of 45 and 321 and 2 touchdowns. Yes, the 2 interceptions is on there, but at the end of the day, the guy plays well. And I feel like we match up very well against this defense, knowing that the wide receivers that we have. And I feel like our biggest mismatch is I don't think the rookie Kenneth Murray can cover Darren Waller. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, and you know what? That's going to be a tougher task for Kenneth Murray really to do that. And here's what I will say about this, because I did see that in the comments as well about the run game, because the last matchup, both Booker and Josh Jacobs both ran for 60 plus yards. You know, they were running for 60 plus in the game. But here's the other takeaway though too. Even without Austin Eckler, which that may be a potential takeaway from there, if the defensive front seven for the Raiders doesn't stop the run game, Eckler is going to be back, and he's going to be a guy that's going to really do some damage to the screen play, and then not to mention on the run, because also Kalen Ballage had 69 rushing yards in that game as well. You know, and that's where you had 3 running backs with over 60 yards on the run, and that's where either or have at least the same kind of trade-off. And so what's going on, Demand? What's going on, Big Cheese? But here's also one big thing, because the wide receivers, this is the only thing I have to look at. In this game against the Raiders are going to be without Henry Ruggs, but I did notice too with the wide receiving core that Hunter Renfrow was the top receiver the last time. 3 targets, 2 catches, 60 yards. But the only one who came away with it was Nelson Aguilar. And having Chris Harris back gives us more depth in the secondary. Because now, I will say this, my friend, last week against Atlanta, 3 turnovers that they ended up converting there. And it was Michael Davis, Jaleel Adai, and Rashawn Jenkins. These guys have stepped up massively in that secondary backfield, and they needed it. When's Kelly coming back? Well, Josh Kelly will be back. I did get news on it. He will be back. He'll be ready to go. But
I just feel as though when it comes to your secondary, you got to think about as many receivers as the Raiders have that they can go to. Now, Brian Edwards might come in and get more targets this week due to the fact that Ruggs is out. Nelson Aguilar is another one. You got to think about who's going to defend Waller. Then you got to think about what happened with Zay Jones. Zay Jones came in, did the trickery play, and got it to Nelson Aguilar in the game against Indianapolis Colts. You just don't know where Carr's going to go with the football when it comes to passing, especially the packages that John Gruden puts out there. So even though Chris Harris might be on Nelson Aguilar, you have others like Hunter Renfrow and Zay Jones and Brian Edwards and Waller. You have so many others on the opposite side. It's going to be tough for just to have Chris Harris to go up against at least one of those. Now, I know from our defense to your offense, now I know that Keenan Allen is one of the best in the game. Williams is one of the fastest in the game. He's not the fastest, but he's one of the fastest in the game. And you know, we do got Foster, but Foster does not get the reps that he should get. Foster Moreau should get more reps. Jason Witten should get more reps. So if it comes down to it, we have a lot of weapons, but I feel like our strengths is that we have a better tight end. Hunter Henry has not played up to his part. Let's just be realistic here. Hunter Henry has not played up to his potential because he used to be that guy for a while.
Yes.
And I don't know where he's been at. He's been very quiet for the Chargers. So as far as our linebackers going up against the tight end, I'm not worried. I'm more worried about our corners, Trayvon Mullen going up against Keenan Allen, which that's going to be a great matchup. It's the side who's going to defend Williams for me. Is it going to be Nevin Lawson? Is it going to be Worley? Is it going to be Isaiah Johnson? We just don't know. I don't know who's going to be on that side.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's funny you mentioned that about Hunter Henry because here's the thing. I mean, you also talk about Darren Waller being a problem. Yes, he's an absolute problem. And I will tell you this, and this is funny, loyal to the soil, you're absolutely right, man. These seem to be equally matched at this point because knowing the injuries that are hit, and then not to mention, you got your weapons, so do we. Because here's the thing, Keenan Allen, one of the most underrated and probably one of the best route running wide receivers in the NFL. He does not get a whole lot of credit from there. But a guy who continues to shred records and is one of Justin Herbert's favorite targets, yeah, he's definitely going to be a problem. And I'm sure that the Raiders are going to have a couple times where they are where they're going to try to, double team him. They're going to try to double team him. But here's the other thing. Mike Williams can also come in a situation where he can be at least a secondary wide receiver as being the other deceiver for the Raiders, and especially for the secondary, because the secondary is going to have a lot of problems with that. But mind you, too, because you talk about Bryan Edwards, you talk about Hunter Renfrow, you're talking about the next guys up who have to step up when one guy goes down.
Yeah,
we do a tendency of the same thing. Jalen Guyton, Tyron Johnson, and listen, Hunter Henry has had his moments. It may not be quote unquote big moments for him, but he has had his moments where he can be very important, especially in midfield. And think about it. I mean, Darren Waller, he was targeted 10 times and caught 5 catches. Hunter Henry was only targeted 7 and he caught 4. So it's either or. He does have his moments where he can end up making plays, help keep drives alive, especially when it comes to time of possessions. And that's where I think it will be very, very interesting to see. But knowing that, yes, we have to contain Darren Waller as much as we possibly can. And we know that Kenneth Murray is not the type of guy, I've been saying this before, he's not the type of guy that plays secondary. He's not a guy that's going to end up playing back and waiting for, a tight end to go and make a play. He's the type of guy that when someone's got the football in their hands, he's a tackling machine. He's going to go after the guy that's got a football in his hands, and he's trying to run, whether it's running on the ground or running after catch. Right. That's just what he does. Now, it's going to be a challenge for the others like Kaiser White and so many others in the linebacking core. But that's where they have to play at least a little bit of that coverage. But I will not be surprised if somewhere in there Gus Bradley utilizes a lot more of his secondaries. And maybe that's where Chris Harris and maybe some of the other young corners are going to come into play. Because if they end up playing with like a 2 linebacker set, and yet they're going to have at least an extra secondary there, then they're hoping they're going to, because all they're trying to do is eliminate the pass game. They're trying to eliminate that.
Now, if you're going to run a 2 linebacker set and we start running the ball down the throat, then that means we set the edge.
Yes, so that's where you set the edge.
That's why you got to look at the 4-2-5, because we kind of ran that too in the last couple of weeks, and I did not like it because you don't have that third linebacker to help out with the outside run. Yes, you do have your 2 inside that can scrape over.
Yes,
but you don't have that third linebacker to help set the edge to help your defensive line. So that's why the Indianapolis Colts, and that's why the Jets was able to run all over us, because they set the edge. What they did was they start inside and bounce out. We don't have those. I think both of our linebacker cores they're athletic, but they're not athletic enough to take up to make up grass.
Right.
When it comes to, I think that's why I feel like we're kind of even on the linebacker core. It's like we we're so out of place on both sides of the linebacker cores. We'd be out of place. They know, if you know that if you have a team that has running backs that cut back, you should have more than 2 linebackers. I'm just saying.
Right. And no, and you're absolutely right. I mean, think about it this way. I mean, the 2 guys that I know that are capable of being Mike linebackers is definitely Kenneth Murray and Uchenna Nwosu. Those are 2 guys that I would trust being Mike linebackers who can get to the quarterback, but even be guys that can stop a run play. But that's where I think Kaiser White is going to have an awful lot of – he's going to have a huge task on his shoulders because he has to – one of these guys has to be the one that, as you said, they have to cover grass. They have to be able to cover the air, and if they don't end up doing that, that's where, and that's where the utilization of those between covers and then not to mention man-to-man coverages have to be utilized at the best way possible, and as we mentioned, I mean, the run game, but you also have to think of too, I mean, there have been guys that stepped up even from last week where Linval Joseph, Justin Jones, there's a couple of guys that I know that have been stepping up in the previous week, but this is where they really have to be strong in it. But this is where I keep saying, trust that Joey Bosa is going to be a guy who is going to be an offensive disruptor. He's going to be a guy that's going to shred through the offensive line any way that he can to get to Derek Carr. But then when you have Linval Joseph, Justin Jones, Jerry Tillery, who stepped up in a big way, I've been liking Tillery's play lately. And I think if he is a guy that you could utilize for the run defense, for a guy that's just going to set up for when the run play comes, that could now be a serious problem for the Raiders to where they're going to stop the run game. And now that's going to end up having to force Derek Carr to now have to throw and create space for himself. So, like you mentioned, I mean, this is where I think it's kind of it's a trade-off for both, because at the same time, the Raiders have to utilize their run and their pass. The Chargers have to do the same thing with their side of the football as well. And that's where I think this is where it's actually going to be even more exciting than the last matchup, than the last matchups turn out.
All right, so loyal to the soil, the last game that we played, it did come down to the wire. It was 31-26 Raiders over the Chargers. 31-26 was the final score in that nature. Now, who do you think will be your standout person in this game? Like who you think is going to be that guy that the Raiders need to be concerned about on the defensive side? And then I'm a vice versa say the same thing. But who do you think is the biggest threat to that Raiders defense from the Chargers offense?
So who I think of who would be the biggest threat, and I think to me personally, because the Raiders haven't seen him play this year, especially even in the last matchup, but I think Austin Eckler is going to be a problem for the Raiders defense. I am very, very confident he is, because knowing that he hadn't played in the last matchup, but even so, they're going to utilize him, utilize Kalen Ballage, +2 Justin Jackson is helping, and so is Josh Kelly. So there's your front four right there for your running back depth. And I think Austin Eckler is going to be a guy that's going to cause the Raiders a lot of problems for both the screen and for both the ground game. And that's where the Raiders really have to, they really have to do at all costs stop Austin Eckler. So, Machiavelli Raider, yep. He's like, Austin Eckler, nailed it, yep. Because you know for a fact that he's a guy that you could use on both ends, both ways of the football, running it and catching. And so think about it. I looked at it from the Patriot matchup for the Raiders because of the amount of times they had James White and they even had Rex Burkhead in that game. And there were times where they were running through. They were also running screen plays and the yards after catch. So that's where I think that's going to be a huge that's where I think that's going to be a huge advantage for the Chargers, and a big problem for the Raiders is Austin Eckler.
I say the running game, honestly. We couldn't stop the run to save our lives in the last couple of times. I mean, we did good against their passing. Yes, we gave up one deep ball to T.Y. Hilton, if I'm not mistaken. But I still feel like on our offense, I still think our biggest threat to your defense, I still feel like Josh Jacobs is going to be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Waller is going to be the guy that. I mean, y'all got a good run defense.
Even though I will say, Josh Jacobs, I would throw in as a wild card, but definitely Darren Waller. He causes so many other defenses problems sometimes, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Waller for me, because I know that Waller, he has a disadvantage with a lot of these corners and a lot of these linebackers. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I'm gonna give you kind of a weird one that I feel like is going to be a threat. He's going to be quiet, and that's Bryan Edwards. I think this is the game that Bryan Edwards comes out. Mind you, he's just as tall as Darren Waller. Sure. If you get him in the red zone and give him those 50-50 balls, he can make those. And we didn't give him that opportunity last week and the week before to actually go. Yeah, he had that opportunity in Atlanta, but in the Jets game, no opportunity. In the pass game in the Indianapolis Colts, no opportunity. I feel like Bryan Edwards, this might be his breakout game, knowing that Henry Ruggs is out. We would not able to see Chris Harris on Bryan Edwards, because we know who Chris Harris is going to be on, which is our lead, technically our top two leading receivers, which is Aguilar or Hunter Renfrow. Yeah. So this gives time for Bryan Edwards to like, listen, this is my game. Why they drafted me in the 3rd round from South Carolina, why y'all drafted me to give y'all that big receiver, knowing that Tyrell Williams, this could have been a Tyrell Williams game to get his payback on why the Chargers didn't re-sign him. But he's hurt. So this is the time where Bryan Edwards comes in and be that sneaky person to be like, oh, snaps, we didn't prepare for him.
Right. And you know what? I mean, if I had to think of a wild card, I'd throw in myself for the offensive ends, and looking at all the past. But I'd say look out for Tyron Johnson. I would say look out for Tyron Johnson. The last couple of games that he has had, he has made some serious big plays. I mean, the last matchup, he only had one target, and that one target was for 50 yards, and he made that catch. He's a guy that can be a huge threat. And like I said, because it's either him or it's going to be Jalen Guyton. And those are guys, as you mentioned about what Tyrell Williams should have been or what he could be. Mm-hmm. These are exactly, as I've been telling you, that these are exactly the same guys that when you look at Tyrell Williams was the same guys that filled in for his role. Is filling in is for a wild card wide receiver, a guy that's going to come in big plays, knowing that if all else fails with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, these are guys that are going to step up and they're going to make some big time plays. I mean, I could tell you last week in the stats, because Tyron Johnson, he was targeted 7 times and caught 6. And he had at least 55 yards in the air. That's why I'm like, I truly think he'll be a guy that's going to be an absolute threat. Now, I know he only got at least one target and 1 catch in the last matchup, but I seriously do think Tyron Johnson, if all else fails, that's going to be the Raiders' issue right there. You cannot afford to leave him open. Doesn't even matter who's covering him. You just cannot afford to leave him open. Those are always those deceiver plays that the Chargers like to utilize there.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Tyler. I've seen a few times that he do get deep balls. Mm-hmm. I can say that. So let's get into it. Let's get into the quarterback play. We all know.
Oh man, don't we just love talking quarterbacks?
Yeah, we go. Listen. Sometimes quarterbacks have to win us the game.
Yes, they do.
I mean, last time it didn't do that, but but these 2 quarterbacks have been playing very well. Mm-hmm. When it comes to this matchup.
Yes.
So you see Herbert versus Carr again, round 2. Mm-hmm. And how do you feel like this game is going to turn out? Because I think both of these guys, could throw for at least 300 plus. But we got to see what Marinelli could do with this defense as well.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing, though, too. Let's also think about what the offensive coordinator can also think of for Derek Carr, because remember, he threw for less amount of the yards, but he was still smart enough to control the game and lead the Raiders to victory. You know, and looking at both of these quarterbacks, the last time they faced, both of them, I have never been even more excited seeing this again than I did in that week, because both of them played cleanly, no picks. They controlled the flow of the game. Now, one, of course, had more throws than the other, because the Raiders' identity, they utilize everybody. They utilize the run. They utilize the receivers. They're the type of team that, you know, whoever can get the football and march them downfield to the end zone, that's what works in their favor. And, you know, and that's where the Raiders, as you mentioned about the offensive line and having Trent Brown back and a couple of other players as well for the front, they're going to open up spaces for Josh Jacobs to run, and even for Devontae Booker. But that's how the Raiders usually flow in their offense. But for the Chargers, Justin Herbert, I keep saying it, man, you got to let this kid cook. You got to let him take control, because if you don't really give him the reins, then he's going to end up playing the same conservative play that Anthony Lynn's been playing all year long. I've seen play after play after play where Justin Herbert is capable of marching them downfield. That game, dude, I'm telling you, how intense, yet how scared were you that the fact that Justin Herbert was able to march down the field and was that close by just one pass play that could have changed the outcome of that whole game. It scared the living crap out of you, didn't it? Because that's where, knowing his momentum, he is capable of doing that. I know he's a rookie, and I know that there are still a lot of things that he has to learn. But again, Dad, I've seen it a bunch of times, man. He's capable of doing this, but that's where he utilizes all of the receivers he has. And I think that's where Anthony Lynn and Shane Steichen really has to utilize this properly. And I think Shane Steichen can do it. I really, really do think that he can do it. But as you said, both the quarterback plays, I think this game is going to be even better than the last one we saw. I think it's going to be even better.
I really hope so, because mind you, every time we play each other on Thursday Night Football, it always comes down to the wire. But now, last year we played y'all, you had Old Man Rivers. It was kind of embarrassing for you last year.
God. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is going to be is more star power on his offense for both teams. Jason Marshall, I don't think we have Rico Gafford anymore. I think we released him, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember him being on the practice squad, so that's another story for another time. Right. But I would love to have Rico. I wish we could have had, like, this is the time, knowing that when Henry Ruggs is on there, this is the time that we should never trade Lynn Bowden Jr. I'm just saying, as a Raiders fan, we should never trade Lynn Bowden Jr. to the Miami Dolphins. This is where the Joker of the offense would have been there, even with the Rico Gafford situation. Like, you got him on, you had him on a practice squad, you activated him, and then you waived him and stuff like that. So another fast guy that's just as fast as Henry Ruggs, not on our roster. So speed kills when it comes to that, knowing that we do still have Nelson Aguilar as a speedster, but I still love the advantage that we have. Because I don't think, if you get Nelson Aguilar like in full potential speed, I don't know what corner on the Chargers can really cover him. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, here's what's interesting, though, because there's something I'll pull up as well that I thought was the best takeaway. And I think I know I had sent this to you before, but this was a big time takeaway for me, that I was just like, I didn't even think about it at all. I really didn't even, like, it never even came to my mind. But Michael Davis, okay, one of these secondaries for the Chargers, he has proven he can be a shutdown. He's proven he can be a shutdown type of guy. Okay, he's faced up against guys like Stephon Diggs, and the last time that they met up, Mike Davis totally, like, he basically made Henry Ruggs disappear. 0 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards. Like literally, like no matter what Henry Ruggs tried to do, he couldn't even get himself open. That was how much of a threat Michael Davis was. And he's not afraid to step up to a challenge. So even if having Nelson Aguilar on the field, I think Michael Davis can very much be up for the challenge. And I think knowing that because of how good he's been in the last couple of weeks as being a shutdown type guy, and then utilizing Rayshawn Jenkins against maybe potentially Brian Edwards. This is one of the best takeaways. Chris Harris, I understand. He is old. But his veteran experience still carries on. And that's what's really impacted guys like Jaleel Addae, like Rayshawn Jenkins, and Michael Davis. It's really impacted in the best way possible. I know it's late than we wanted it to, but I'm very happy that these guys have stepped up in a big way. Now, the only thing, because if the Chargers could shut down all the wide receivers that the Raiders have, just squeeze out any potential that Derek Carr can throw to, then the only thing now that they have to focus on is shutting down Darren Waller. That's the only thing that they have to utilize because, like I said.
So do you feel like if they shut down Waller, will it open up anything else for our Raiders receivers? Because you got to think about it.
It might, but
Waller, that gives opportunity for Aguilar to have a great game.
Now it might, but that's where the Chargers, I think, are going to be offset with it. Because if they know 1-2 plays, that's where they're going to cut it that way. Because I shouldn't expect 5, if not 6 plays. Because if there is, that's where they have a serious problem. Because the second that ends up happening, that's not going to be good. And they have to
You know what's funny? What if this end up being a defensive game?
Then I mean, honestly, because what it's gonna come down to, I think that would be crazy. I literally think that would be crazy. Gus Bradley against Rod Marinelli. I mean, hey, I would not be mad at that, but at the same time, that's where it's going to be at the end of the day. Who can step up? Who is this matchup is going to determine who is the number 2 quarterback in the division. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
That this is the game that's going to literally determine that.
Well, we all know Herbert is the future. We all know right now Derek Carr is the second quarterback, best quarterback in the division.
Yes.
But right now, Justin Herbert, he's still a rookie. He's still young.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know who the second best quarterback right now is. Well,
for sure. But at the same time, I mean, because, we know that Herbert's a rookie, but think about it for like the next 3 years. Even if Derek Carr is still in a Raider uniform at this point, then you might have to, rethink it, relook it. Because again, this is why the AFC West is so competitive, and it's probably one of the most fun to watch divisions in the NFL. Because the quarterback plays, the weapons, the defense, he's going to be he's an absolute game changer.
Yeah,
but
he is.
That's where I'm just like, I have not been this more excited, this more excited than the last matchup, man. Like I absolutely loved it. I know it was a close enough game, but I honestly, I couldn't hit. I couldn't be mad at that.
Here, Jason Marshall, who's going to F up for turnover battle difference maker? That is a huge fact.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
And you know what? Hammer does point out something too. He points out about the last time in the matchup, Keenan Allen was a serious problem last time. He was a serious problem in that game. And the reason I'll tell you,
think about it.
Well, no, and I get that, but here was the thing. He was targeted 11 times, caught 9 passes, and he had 103 yards. But here's the other thing too. Mike Williams, he had his fair shares, 7 targets, 5 catches, 81 yards. He was close to 100.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Those wide receivers I mentioned right there, they are capable of having 100 receiving yards. But that's where the Raiders, have to shut down that pass play.
Now, Warner Brother, you said you think the better coaching staff is going to win. Now we know that the Chargers does not have a better coaching staff than the Raiders. I mean, when it comes to Paul Guttner, I think Paul Guttner was worse than Gus Bradley, but I just feel like, Anthony Lynn is not better than John Gruden at this point.
Well, no,
he's not.
And we already know that.
Brother, that means you think the Raiders will win if that's the case.
And that's what he thinks, and good thing I got him outside friggin' raising cold, okay? Don't worry. He's in intermission right now, folks. Don't worry. He's in intermission.
Yeah, Herbert does look great right now, and that's what makes me nervous about this defense. I know Rob Milner is taking over a defense that is 4 days in without Paul Guttner. So it's just like, what is it? What we're going to see from this defense? Like, is Rob Milner going to do the right thing and put LaMarcus Joyner at safety where he plays his best ability at? That's my problem.
That may be. I mean, you know what? Because I've been watching LaMarcus Joyner, and I'm just like, what are they doing with him? Because knowing that, I understand what Paul Gunther's trying to accomplish, but at the same time, you got to play these guys where their strengths are.
Right.
And if you don't utilize that, that's where it really bites you in the end, because that's where you're going to give up big plays. You're going to give up a ton of yardages, and that's where you really have to utilize this and think this through. And so I think your prayers might be answered where Rod Marinelli it may put LaMarcus Joyner in his strong spot.
But now, if we put LaMarcus Joyner in his strong spot, I got some questions at that slot corner. Now, me personally, I feel like Isaiah Johnson should be at least the second corner or be that safety back there with LaMarcus Joyner. But I don't know where to put Nevin Lawson at, because I think that slot corner has been killing us all year long.
Mm-hmm.
It's been killing us all year long. What's going on, Gold Blooded? I ain't seen you in a minute, man. What's up? Where the heck you been? My God. Jesus. I'm sorry. That just threw me off, Gold Blooded. I ain't seen you in a month of Sundays, Tuesday, Wednesday, all 7 days. Jeez. But it's just that slot corner position is going to be our biggest question if we move LaMarcus Joyner to safety. Now we do have Amik Robinson, which is a rookie, but I don't really think he's ready yet from what we saw this year. So I mean, hopefully Nevin Lawson can play, Isaiah Johnson can play. I think it's the other guys. His last name Levette. I think we got him off the practice squad or something like of that nature.
What's up with Trayvon Mullen?
Trayvon Mullen's our number one. We already know he's our number one corner. Mm-hmm. What's going on, Eddie? Thank you for tuning into the show, Eddie. But before we give our predictions,
because I know everybody in the chat right now is having a serious debate of who's going to win a ring first, Raiders or the Chargers.
Well, the Chargers got to get their
Give your take.
The Chargers got to get their first ever championship first. Now in franchise history, we already have 3 in franchise history. But if Nixon, I don't know what's going on with Keyshawn Nixon. I don't know what's going on with him either. So I think right now we have the potential to win one before y'all, just because of the division we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Herbert might win a championship in this division, but as long as Patrick Mahomes up there and Derek Carr's there, I don't see it happening no time soon.
Well, I'm telling you right now. I'm really telling you right now, because I don't know if you saw my episode last night, but if I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan right now, I'd be worried. I would be worried. The last couple of weeks for the Kansas City Chiefs, they've all been one possession games that they've won. Their red zone offense is not the same. They've been off. Even though that they've won the games, they've been off. And that's where I think maybe Kansas City's got a hole. Maybe they got something there that I think all of us should end up utilizing more. Because again, there's never, ever going to be a great dynasty for a long, long time. Okay, we already know that with the Patriots. Every team is beatable. You just have to find the holes. But I honestly do think that the Chargers would have a better chance, because Justin Herbert, and seeing the gifts he possesses, I mean, that kid is unbelievable. He's got probably one of the best arms in football, next to Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and even Kyler Murray. Right. But the other thing is, they've built it around him. Now, they will have to bolster up the offensive line. They will need to end up bolstering the offensive line. And I think at the same time, they need to have at least another shutdown corner, if not a secondary there, because we know that the only big player that has a huge impact is Derwin James. We already know that. If Derwin James could stay healthy, for God's sakes, then that's where I think the Chargers will have that opportunity. But I do look at it this way. Derwin James is getting the injuries out now. He's getting them out now, because think about it this way. Remember when Keenan Allen used to be hurt and how many times he had to get those injuries out? Mind you, that could be a problem. He gets them out, and then he comes back as this big-time impactful player. So, but even so, Herbert needs 2 more years of experience. But think about it, though. Look at what Mahomes did. Mahomes, at the very least, he played only 2 games in his rookie season. 2. Then he comes in next season, and he's unbelievable.
But you got to think about who he's under as a head coach.
And I understand that too. And I know
Andy Reid. We know that.
And I haven't even mentioned anything about Anthony Lynn, because I know that Anthony Lynn is not going to be the coach of this team. Let's be honest. He's not going to end up being the coach of this team. I've already made the points of it. I truly think Bill Belichick, Urban Meyer, and Brian Kelly, because they need a head coach, not a coordinator. We cannot end up settling for cheap and getting a damn coordinator.
And that's how I feel about the Raiders. I feel like I'm fine with John Gruden as the head coach, knowing I wasn't really a big fan of him coming back. As a Raiders fan, I don't care what the Raider Nation say. I was not a big fan of him coming back, because at the end of the day, I feel like he's still in this 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense to a point where it's not living up to the modern day era of offenses. If you look at Sean McVay, if you look at Matt LaFleur, those 2 young coaches, not even Sean McDermott, but if you see
Sean McDermott and Brian Dable's really been working well with Buffalo.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, these young offensive coordinators, they're innovative. They're trying to do anything in their world offensively to beat the Chiefs and take them off their throne. And John Gruden is just an old-fashioned quarterback that I did not want, an old-fashioned coach that I did not want back. I did not want him back. Honestly, I did not. I think the contract was so overdue. In my opinion, it was too much to give him. Mm-hmm. And number 3, I feel like we need a young, innovative offensive coordinator and take the reins from John Gruden for this offense to elevate. Yes, our offense looks good now. Yes, we do have 26 to 27 points a game, which is fine. Gruden should be done calling the plays at this age for John Gruden. Right. He just needs to be done with it. Be a head coach. Let your offensive coordinator do what he has to do.
And if you got to work on the defense more, if that's what you got to do, at least have a trustworthy offensive coordinator who's only going to man the offense. We've seen head coaches where they focused in on defenses more, because think about it. The Atlanta Falcons at one point, when they had Kyle Shanahan, they never had to worry about how Kyle Shanahan was going to match that offense, because he was a guy that really trusted Matt Ryan, and he trusted his play scheme. And all Dan Quinn had to do was focus on the defense, because Dan Quinn's a defensive-minded coach. He's a guy that, as I said before, people might not think of him highly, but he's a guy that I think as a defensive coordinating mind could go as a DC type person, and probably, he'd shape up a defense much, much better. And that's where I'm like,
I kind of disagree with Hammer, saying the West Coast offense is outdated. It's not outdated. It's just people change it to very innovative. People don't know that Andy Reid runs a West Coast offense. He just put a wrinkle dinkle and put some seasoning on it to make it look like it's totally different. He runs the RPO through a West Coast offense as a combination. If we could do that with a young offensive coordinator that could bring in an RPO / innovative West Coast offense, it would work for Derek Carr. That's just me. But Kyle Shanahan, only reason why Kyle Shanahan for the 49ers is not doing nothing this year, their quarterback is done for the year.
Yeah.
Their receivers are done for the year. They're damn near their offensive line is done for the year. So you can't
you can't blame Kyle Shanahan, because think about it. Look at the record when Jimmy G is under center for the San Francisco 49ers. They've won more games. And when they don't have them,
28, they 28-6 or something like
28-6. Yeah, 28-6 with Jimmy G. Yeah. That's where I'm just like, being reasonable. We know the problems, but that's not one of them. That's definitely not one of them. The Chargers. I
don't like the pistol order wildcat for Mariota in the red zone, Jason Marshall. No. I don't like it just because Mariota has not played a down this season. And he finally wants to be active after 13 weeks. He's just not in football ready shape for us to throw a pistol or a wildcat offense for a guy that has not saw the field all year long. I disagree. I don't want Mariota on the field because he's a very inconsistent quarterback. Very inconsistent. I think
he's very inconsistent
money too.
Yeah, he's very inconsistent at his position. That's why I keep saying, like, especially for Raider Nation, stop throwing Carr under the bus majority of the time. Now, understand the leadership presence of it. Yes, he has to step up in it in order to get the team's attention. But at the same time, he's trying to do his part. He's trying to do his part as a quarterback to be accurate, to be efficient, and move the team down the field. Right. Score points. He's trying to do that. Everybody just has to follow his steps. They just got to follow with what he's doing. And so, oh God, Salvador Lucas, really? What about the GOAT, Peter? Get out of here. Come on.
Oh, Nathan Peterman would never see the field.
No. And that's where that shouldn't be the matter. They are on a team for a reason. No excuse. Well, yeah, of course it's no excuses.
Listen, I held the whole Raiders team accountable every single week that we lose. I hold them accountable, but I'm not going to sit here.
What did I say to you before with that matchup against the Jets? Because the Chargers did the same thing. They did the same thing. They gave up the same exact points, 28. They gave up 28.
I'm sorry, Jake, but our offense isn't the issue, but the
coordinating is.
With the play calling by John Gruden is the issue.
Yeah.
He has too much of an old-fashioned offense. Yes, we're doing it right now and we're putting up a lot of points, but he gets in that third quarter and he does it every game this week. Every week in the third quarter, he gets conservative he gets comfortable.
Yeah.
He don't keep on the gas as a realistic Raider fan.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying it as a realistic Raider fan because at the end of the day, you got to look at both sides. Yes, our defense gives up 200 rushing yards and 37 points. That is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope Rob Molinari comes in and change this defense, and hopefully he can retain being the defensive coordinator because people don't know about Rob Molinari. And people don't know this. When he was with the Cowboys, he never had anything lower than 16 as an overall defense.
Yeah. Yeah, and that will be a bright future, hopefully, for the Raiders. And hopefully that's where it's going to end up bouncing their defense back up. So you guys have the depth of offense. You really do.
We do.
You have the depth of offense. It's the facts of coordinating them correctly.
Right.
That's the only thing. And as I said, the Chargers have the same woes because knowing that the defense has to get better. But Shane Steichen, I have to say, is a guy that is capable of making the plays, but his problem is he's got Lynn in his ear too much. And that's where Lynn needs to stop that. Because we all know how conservative Anthony Lynn is. Because every time, you've seen it too, anytime that the Chargers are running slant plays, we're getting first downs. We're getting big time first downs, and then we go back to run. Why?
So Jason Marshall said the Colts do the same with Jacoby Brissett and the Saints with Taysom Hill. Why not Mariota?
Because
Because
not going to last long.
Jacoby Brissett only comes in on fourth downs for a quarterback sneak. You ain't see Jacoby Brissett come in and do some RPO or anything of that nature. No, he did not. Now, Taysom Hill is a different type of athlete than Marcus Mariota.
Yes.
It's like Marcus Mariota is not the type of athlete that Taysom Hill is. That's the difference. So, Michael Brown says when the Raiders convert on third down conversions on offense and the defense can pitch shutouts, then our team will be taken seriously.
Yeah. Actually, that's spot on right there.
Exactly what I'm saying about the offense.
Spot on.
When it comes to 3 and outs, the play calling on third down is terrible by John Gruden. It's terrible.
Now I'm going to put this up right here because this has actually been on my mind for the next year draft. But Raider fans, you really want to make this right? Dell Jr., I'm glad you brought this up. Raiders need a good draft on defense. Defensive tackle, outside linebacker, safety. You guys have got to nail the draft. You've got to nail the draft again.
I just feel like we had the wrong coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
I think we nailed the draft. Yes, getting Damon Arnett, getting Abram, getting Amik Robinson.
Yeah,
I feel like we just didn't have the right coordinator that fits their strengths.
Mm-hmm. But again, that's where I think they need to nail that, getting the players that can fill in those holes. But even at the same time, I think Rod Marinelli could very much shift and make this defense much better than what it is. Because getting all of those players in free agency, that should never be an excuse as to why they can't be better. But that's where the coordinating comes into position. It seriously has to come into position. So, because to me, I'm kind of the same way. I'm a guy that this is why we have to have a head coach for a reason. I think Shane Steichen is really good. I think for a team that's now 7th in offense, that speaks a lot of volumes. That speaks a lot of volumes to people because that just tells you he is capable of running the offense and making it better, but he has to have the right guy next to him that actually will innovate that to making Justin Herbert probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league next to Patrick Mahomes. But if you can't do that and you continuously, you're kind of shelling up every time after you make a big play, you're not going to end up seeing the absolute best out of Justin Herbert. You're not.
Right. And the thing about it is he was like Rod Marinelli was had a top 10 defense with the Dallas Cowboys last year until they got rid of him because they got rid of Jason Garrett as well. Yep. Now, people are saying, I don't know about Arnett. Mind you, Arnett had the thumb injury and he has the concussions. Now, if he could get those down and take those away, if you look at, he had a solid year without those injuries.
Mm-hmm.
He had a solid year. I rarely seen Arnett get beat this year when he was on the field.
Yep.
I rarely see him get beat over the top at that. Yeah. It might be some miscues in the reasoning why. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I just feel like we need to see what we got out there. If Marinelli could change his defense for 3 weeks, then we might see about making him a defensive coordinator. I don't see why not. But I know it's other potential defensive coordinators out there like Chris Richard, Wade Phillips. You got what's his name? What's his other name? I can't get it out my head. I know Chris Richard came over from the Seattle Seahawks and not really do. Oh, Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris does not get that interim head coaching job for the Atlanta Falcons, mind you, Raheem Morris started his career out under John Gruden.
I feel like it's actually funny because I did end up talking to Terror Artist 404, aka Tonio, who runs all of the coverage for the Atlanta Falcons Nation, and he literally was saying there may be a chance that Raheem Morris might not be the head coach for the Falcons. They may end up going and getting a different they might end up getting just a fresh new coach that I think would be, because I think they're trying to focus more. And I'm like, I don't know why they would have to focus on offense, but they need to focus a little bit more upon defense. Because if you're still going to keep pieces like Deion Jones or Keanu Neal and others, then you really need to, and AJ Terrell being your catalyst of that movement, like you got to get somebody that's defensive minded at the very least. But who knows? But I think Raheem Morris, that could be a very interesting pickup. That could be a very interesting pickup. But, as I said, I know a lot of people like to roll their eyes. Okay, I'm used to that because we're such an eye-rolling team. But I don't care. But I'm telling you, Bill Belichick is not liking what's happening in New England. If you all think he's not going to lead, think again. Because I told you about this. Our good friend Bobby at Butcher's Block and Patriots Talk, he has connections with players on the inside, and every time that they're in the organization, they're in the offices, the conversation has not been the same. It has not been. And that, because you could tell it, because if New England loses this next week, they're going to go with Jarrett Stidham. What else do you got left to lose? What else do you have left to lose? And they don't have any other special quarterback. They barely even have any special wide receivers. They barely have anything. But that's where I really, truly feel like Bill's going to leave. Because if you don't have that, what's the point of even staying there? Because now you're kind of burning out you're basically burning out your coaching style, and especially one of the best play callers you'd ever see in the NFL. You're burning that all out for a team that's not even going to fill in the holes that they need to. So if you bring Bill Belichick in, he's going to make Herbert more than what he is right now. And he'll deserve that. And you've already got weapons. You've got defenses. Maybe you can pick up at least a few more and shape them up right and then make it better. Then I also mentioned about Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer, if you can get him out of retirement, man, and especially with a young core offense that's only getting better, what's to say Urban Meyer doesn't say no? You never know. And I think Urban Meyer would be the perfect candidate for that. And lastly, Brian Kelly. Because Brian Kelly's also been a guy, when we watch at Notre Dame and how good the defense has been shaping for like the last couple of weeks, he's another guy that could be a catalyst for for the defense, and could very much be a guy that's going to be shut down. So instead of being number 9, he can work them to be number 5.
I feel like if the Chargers are going to go head coach, they're going to go with someone young. I mean, Bill Belichick is getting up there in age. Urban Meyer is getting up there in age. Brian Kelly is getting up there in age. They kind of some old-fashioned type of head coaches.
Well, remember this. You can't shun away the old that easily. Trust me.
But the question is, like, with old coaches, that's why I say I don't really want to get like a Wade Phillips or Rob Marinelli. I mean, I don't mind it, but they're up there in age. Marinelli and Wade Phillips are in their 70s. How much they're really going to take as being a coordinator. That's why I said if we're going to get somebody that's young, like a Raheem Morris, like a Chris Richard. You know what I'm saying?
But you got to have somebody who's smart enough that they think outside the box when it comes to certain play calls.
Well, you got to think about it too. When Raheem Morris with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a head coach, his second year he went 10-6, and his team was ranked 9th in defense that year as a young coach.
Yeah,
so he know how to be a DC.
But think about it this way.
I like Morris more than over Wade Phillips, in my opinion.
Well, and here's what's funny about that, because Wade Phillips is honestly what's been helping Sean McVay. Because Sean McVay is a young coach, right? And he needed Wade Phillips as far as experience, even being as a defensive coordinator, to make it work. And sure enough, look at what's happening with the Rams. They got the number 3 offense and they got the number 2 defense. And that, but that's where you gotta kind of have a mixture of young and old. Like think of it this way. I mean, I could think of so many other. I think it's so many other different tandems there that I think that are very, very dangerous, man. I mean, but look at well, I think Bieniemy is kind of a little bit younger.
Yeah, but we already know where the Bieniemy is going. We already know
we know that. Oh yeah, we know that.
If Adam Gase doesn't get fired, then Bieniemy is going to go somewhere where he can find a head coaching job. He's going to some other head coach. Listen, he might be available to y'all at the end of the year if the Jets don't go out and get him. That's another one. So it's a possibility, but we want to get into the questions in the chat. If you do have any questions for us in the chat, please let us know. We do not have the call-in show tonight.
Yes,
so we
please.
answer questions from the chat alone. But before we get into those questions, let's get into our prediction for this game.
Yep.
Now, since you are the away team, you have to go first, bruh. You have to go first with it.
All right. Well, let's take a look here real fast and see exactly what the bet line is going to be, because I love doing this stuff. So the bet lining in this game, the Raiders are favored -3. They're favored -3. So, of course, the Chargers, they're on the road and they're the underdogs. I mean, they've been playing underdog football for at least the last couple of weeks, and there have been times where it's actually executed, or some of it that they really haven't been able to cover the points. But I just truly think, after what I've seen from the Raiders the previous week against the Colts, letting Jonathan Taylor run over you guys at 150 yards on the ground, like that's unacceptable. And then, not to mention, you're also facing against one of the top 5 offensive lines in the NFL. And that was tough to get pressures on Phillip Rivers, even though we all know how Phillip Rivers plays. Okay, we all know that. But an offensive line that gives him plenty of time and plenty of protection, that's lethal. And that's where that connection to him and T.Y. Hilton started clicking at the right time. And there were a couple of times where he utilized everybody. But I just think that right now the Raiders, with the fact that they're coming back home, knowing that they won't have Paul Gunther, they'll have Rod Marinelli, and it's a short time. That's a short time to prepare, because knowing you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like, I don't know, man. Short weeks of practices is very, very tough to get a new defensive mind in. Now, maybe Rod Marinelli has set reservations, but that's where we'll see that in the coming game. But for me, of course, I always stick to my colors. And since it's round 2 until we see you guys again next season, the Chargers need this win big time. Chargers need this win big time, because right now they're 0-for against all of their division rivals in the AFC West. They're 0-3, and they need this big time. And now I understand the Raiders are playing for hopes that they can stay in the playoff hunt, but this is going to be super exciting, man. This is going to be super exciting. I think this is definitely going to be a close game, and I think the 3-point margin is exactly where it's going to be, but I'm going to give this a better score. 30-27. Chargers win. I think we're going to have both quarterbacks are going to be even better than they were the last matchup, but it's ultimately going to come down to the wire of who wants it more.
And I think the Raiders would want it more after I feel like this defense quit on Paul Gunther in that Indianapolis Colts game. And it showed. It showed. And this is why we fired Paul Gunther, which I thought it should have been earlier than expected. I think this defense actually gave up on Paul Gunther in the Atlanta Falcons game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not probably further back than that. I've been calling for Gunther's head all year. I've been wanting him to get fired since the offseason. And I feel like this defense finally convinced that Gunther is not for them and they are not for Gunther.
Right.
So with me, I feel like this defense is going to come out with something to prove, knowing that we have a lot of players out. but this defense is going to come in and probably be more fired up than they ever was this year. Because as Paul Gunther is gone, they feel like they probably be able to fly to the ball and play a little bit better. So I think this defense will definitely show up. Offensively, I think our offense can move up and down the field on this Chargers defense.
Okay.
I know that Chris Harris did not play last time, but I still think he's a non-factor, knowing that he did used to play for the Denver Broncos and used to play us twice. But he never played against any of the receivers that we have on the roster. And I really like our chances at home. And we need this win if we want to stay in playoff implications. And I feel like Derek Carr would get the job done when it's needed, when it comes to the fourth quarter. And he's going to get it done. He's going to go down the field and have a score. And our defense is probably going to step up, and they're going to be fired up to win this game. We know that Ruggs is out. We know Michael Brown. We know that Ruggs is out already. We already know. It doesn't change a thing, though. We still got some of the best tight ends. Yes, we know all the people that's out. We know all the people that's out. We know Ruggs is out. We know that Jonathan Abram is out. We know that Cleveland Farrell's out. We know that Nicholas Morrow's out. We know that Damon Arnett is out. Yes, we know all these players are out. I know. But I'm not afraid to say that the Raiders will win this game 35-27. Raiders win this game 35-27. I don't know what it is about us at home, but we can put up points at home. We can. We put up points at home. So I'm not, listen, that Chargers defense is not like the Colts defense. It's not. The Colts got the best front seven in football. Hands down. It is next man up mentality for the Raiders. It's next man up. Simple as that. So we did our predictions. We gave y'all our scores. We're going to give y'all another 15 to 20 minutes to access any questions about this game. In the chat. Because this is going to be a good Thursday night football game.
This is going to be a great Thursday night football game. And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, just hopefully if we get some questions up in here, but this was the game. I told you. This was the game I wanted to take my pops to, because him being a diehard Raider fan and a guy that is recovering very, very well from a stroke in April. I mean, this would have honestly had made his day if he went and saw his haters play. And I would have honestly just been excited knowing that the Chargers come into Vegas, especially being born and raised here my whole life. Like, I would be excited to seeing my team play, and that's where I'm like, I love matchups like these, the old school rivalry and stuff like that. And to me, like when it comes to me and my pops, as I've said, he may be my pops and I'm his son one day, but we're very much enemies at the, when it comes to matchups like this. And that's been a rivalry that's carried on for a long, long time. But I love fun rivalries like that. So, and you've already seen the picture, man. You've already seen the pictures of our strong side. So now it's going to really determine whose strong side's better, and as you said, you mentioned about whatever it is of how they're scoring at home. So you're basically telling me that you're trusting that big old Roomba to end up scoring you, majority of points. It's going to be interesting. But I'm going to tell you right now, if the Chargers do win this game on Thursday, I have no problem taking a 20-minute drive down to Allegiant Stadium in my Chargers gear, run around like a madman, and say that Roomba's got to clean up all that dark dust on the ground over there, because there's too many haters fans up over there wishing and hoping, man. That Roomba's got some cleaning to do.
Oh, man. What's going on, We Slap? What's going on? Yo, Darian, Max Crosby, and Aaron Key are going to maul through the tackles of the Chargers Raiders. Okay, listen. Aaron Key is one of those guys that's very underrated on our defensive line as well. One of those guys that's going to help us out in the rotation with Carl Nasbit, Vic Beasley. We all know Tack McKinley's on IR. So, yeah, absolutely. Ricky 7 said, I didn't know that your dad was a Raiders fan. That's very ironic that he's a Chargers fan and his father's a Raiders fan. But it's so many people in his family. I think he's probably the only Chargers fan in his family, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, actually, yep.
And everybody else got different teams. That's
because in our family, there's literally Steelers. There's, unfortunately, I hate having to say this, but there's Washington football team fans. But there's even Rams fans above there too, like original, like LA Rams fans there,
right?
Like big time. So, Snake, you always got that A1 gear on. Yep. Dan Phelps. I'm going home. I'm going big and going home.
Johnson & Johnson. Get it out of here. Get it out of here, man.
Oh, man.
We ain't worried about that.
Roy's like, I'll be waiting for you at the stadium.
It's all about the silver and black, baby. It's all about the silver and black. You can't go wrong. You can wear anything with Raiders colors. You can't wear anything with Chargers colors. You can't.
Sounds like silver and lack.
No, silver and black. Silver and black, just like the Los Angeles Chokers, okay?
Oh,
the Los Angeles Chokers.
Here comes this haters talk, man.
We don't want to talk about the Raiders. We don't want to talk about these guys, man.
Where's my bottle of Haterade at? Because I really need a drink for all my haters in there.
See, this is all I'm gonna do. Huh. Huh. That's all I'm gonna do.
Oh. Damn.
Or go pow pow because you shoot yourselves in the foot every week besides the Atlanta game.
Jeez. You guys must be lactose intolerant because you guys are lacking playoff wins right now. You know, you guys are definitely lacking for the playoffs.
What are you talking about?
What?
The Chargers are lacking playoff wins too. So what are you talking about?
We've had our share. We've had our moments.
We
have literally had our moments.
We did too. It's just that, you know, Derek Carr broke his leg in 2016. You know, like it wasn't supposed to go that way. But it happened, you know, so it's the choke.
My mama needs to come out and play. I bet Snake don't get invited. Oh God.
Here comes the human troll.
Yep. Yeah, here comes this guy.
In the last 3 games, do you think they could save Lynn's job for at least one season?
I got news for you, Damien. No. No. Get him out of here. I like him, but get him out of here. Seriously. The Raider fans are going to sleep mad Thursday.
Oh, he sounded like Damian Estrada. Get him out of here.
Oh, my God.
CG Bully, what's going on, CG Bully? What's up, man?
Oh, man,
that's
sad.
Talk about it. 14-2 and no Super Bowl.
But you know what the problem of it was? The problem of it was we fired freaking Marty Schottenheimer. Okay, that should have never happened. And second of all, we had to deal with Bill and Tom Brady. Okay, we had to deal with Bill and Tom Brady. That's what pissed us off. And you have to think about how close that game was, too. You have to think about how close that was. Because
right. That's win for Jake's Pops. Let's go. All right,
Damien, no. Enough of this. Stop it. Enough of this. I'm over that shit. It's bad, man. Good Lord.
They're in the chat now and they're coming in.
I know they're in, man. They're in here. I love it.
If y'all have not went and subscribed to the Snake Sports Talk Show, the link is in the description. Make sure y'all go over and subscribe to my man Jake. If you are a Chargers fan or you just want to get sports in general, he does cover Chargers, but he does cover all sports from NBA. He does like the Las Vegas Golden Knights. That's his squad. So for hockey. So go over there and support him, please. For my sake, understanding we are rivals this week, but this is my brother from another mother. And I have to say, His quality, he has great quality content over there. So make sure y'all go over there and subscribe to the channel. Link is in the description, man.
Yeah, we're basically frenemies up to this point. You know, it's a love-hate relationship, man. But we
It's
we
only
make
love-hate relationships when it comes to 2 times out of the year.
But hey, this is what makes it exciting, though, man. This is what makes it exciting. I mean, good Lord, could you have ever done this with a Chiefs fan?
Oh, hell no.
Or better yet, donkeys.
I don't want nothing to do with the donkeys. Donkeys are not allowed on my channel.
Yeah, they're not. They are not allowed.
I think we played them already, if I'm not mistaken. We played them already.
Yeah, you already played them already.
Have a donkey on my live stream. Nope, the donkeys are not allowed. They are the only team in the AFC West that are not allowed on my damn channel. Sorry, no donkeys allowed.
Oh man,
no donkeys allowed. Jason Barr said, "Go Avalanche." Ooh,
wow, Colorado Avalanche fan. Oh wow, I like Nathan McKinnon. Well, actually, I like that front three, but geez, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened against Dallas, but I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that, Jason. But better hope that Colorado reshapes, man. And you got that last game I went to for Vegas against Colorado, that pissed me off. That pissed me off because Pierre-Edouard Bellemare scores a freaking hat trick on the road in T-Mobile Arena. I'm like, really? You're going to do us like that, man? That's cold. That's colder than the ice. It's ridiculous.
So, do you have anything else to say before we shut it down? Because I know it's getting late and, I'm not going to be sitting in this hard-ass chair all night. I'm just not going to be doing it. Because we can break down so much stuff of this Chargers and Raiders game, but
I know, and I know we'll save all of our smack talking for the end, man. I mean, listen, games are never over until the fat lady sings, man. That's literally how it is.
Yeah, we see that in week 9.
Yes, we did. We did see that in week 9. So this is going to be even better than what week 9 gave us, man. So you better be big time prepared. Wait a minute. Hold on. Ray says, go Golden Knights. I'm a Knights fan also. I'm from Vegas, southeast side. But southeast side? Damn, man. Oh, hell. Now I can tell why he's waiting for me over at Allegiant Stadium after tomorrow. Because I live up over here. I live up over here in Hendo, man. I live right up over here in Hendo, right up in South Point. Yep. That's why I'm like 15, 20 minutes away from Allegiant. Well, what's going on, Jamar Nash? Now we're getting all of our Bolt Gang fam up in here. But
what's up, Jamar Nash? What's up, man?
This is, like I said, man, last time before closing this season out, man, this is going to be a lot of fun. And like we mentioned, go big or go home. You either want to be a hater or you want to end up bolting up.
If you want to be a choker, you stay a choker.
Oh, Lord. I'm just telling you.
Oh, my God.
I'm just telling you, that Roomba's got a lot of cleaning to do. There's a lot of dust all around there, man.
Man, listen. All I got to say is Johnson & Johnson. But, it's all good, though. It's all about the silver and black, man. Like I said, 35-27, Raiders will win. And what
30-27. 30-27 for me.
Listen, even your guys said, hold up. What the heck?
Oh, it's because they keep popping up with all these comments.
That's what he said about the Chargers.
Okay, listen.
It
may not be our year, but we're not ass. We're not ass like the Jets and the freaking Jags. We're not ass, okay? Like, come on, man.
Thank you, Cincinnati Gaming, for subscribing. Thank you for subscribing. Make sure y'all go over and subscribe to this fella over here, if I'm putting the correct way.
Yeah.
Make sure y'all subscribe to this man over here. If you are Chargers fans coming from Facebook, his name is the Snake Sports Talk Show on YouTube. And if y'all on YouTube, make sure y'all click the link in the description and just subscribe to his channel. His goal is to get to 300 subscribers. So I say go over there and show him some love. Make sure all notifications on. And this is your first time ever being at the Spotlight Raiders Talk channel, we would suggest that you subscribe and hit the bell button for the Spotlight Raiders Talk. And last but not least, if you have not subscribed to the Spotlight Sports Network, the link is in the description as well. Go over to the Spotlight Sports Network and subscribe to there. We're almost at 600 subscribers on that channel. So It's been fun, man.
Oh, it's been absolutely fun, man. Like I said, go big or go home, man. Round 2, I'm ready for it. Damn it, Damian.
You better not jinx it, because if it ends up in the 27-27, I'm coming through the screen and I'm choking you for real.
Yeah, we probably need to clip up all those peach fuzzes that are around there on his freaking lips right there. I don't even know what that is.
The last YouTube was Spotlight Sports Network. That's what the name was, Spotlight Sports Network. Vegas about that life. We making it about that life.
Oh, wait. So you're bringing those Philly subs up out here to Vegas, man?
No,
bring those. Oh,
yeah, the real Philly cheesesteaks.
Damn it! That's only the best ones are from Philly. Yeah, that's a fact.
So we want to thank y'all so much for being on here, man. We'll see y'all tomorrow for Thursday night football, the biggest matchup of the week, AFC West rivalry. It's going down. Roy said,
how did the you know what? Let's do a test real quick from when we do touchdowns, man. How do those haters end up scoring touchdowns, man? How do they end up scoring touchdowns? And you got to be saying it from the bottom of your heart too.
It doesn't matter, man. Jamar, you from Philly, bro? Listen, hit me up, inbox me. My name is Sonny Hopkins on Facebook. Hit me up, man. We could talk some stuff and have you on here next time.
For sure, bro. Hell yeah, bro, for sure.
There's a few fans I know in Philadelphia, so yeah.
Oh, well, then there you go. Because I bet you they'll be better prepared for when that first score comes in, and I'm going to be loud as hell. When you start hearing touchdown Chargers.
Yes, I do have some shoveling to do because Philly is bad right now with snow. It is bad out here. I'm actually really quarantining for real now because the snow is out.
Oh, it's piling you up in there.
Oh yeah, man. It's just. I just hope it stops soon. I do have some shoveling to do.
That's the only thing I can't do.
You don't probably never have to see a shovel.
No.
Y'all lucky, man.
We're too dry for that. Oh,
please, man. I can't.
Jeez. This freaking guy.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in, man. We're going to sign off with our intros and our merch and everything of that nature. So make sure y'all holler at us, and we'll see y'all tomorrow for the game, 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. He will be live. I will be live. I'll be live with Raider J77 and Hammer. He'll be live by himself as usual, but it's all love. It's all good. He does give you great play-by-play and reactions. It's all good. But
hell yeah, get y'all popcorn ready, man. This is gonna be a fun game, man. This is gonna be a hell of a game.
Y'all have a good night, and we see y'all later.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the Oakland A's? Are you a fan of the Golden Knights? Do you love the Los Angeles Chargers? Well then, my friend, you're in the right place. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show with your host, Jake the Snake Silva, brought to you by the Spotlight Sports Network.
Once a Raider, bruh, always a Raider, bruh. Shit simple as that. You look